In the heart of the dense, ancient forest of Blackwood Grove, nestled deep within the gloomy embrace of towering pines, there stood a cabin unlike any other, a place dreaded and shunned by the few who knew of its existence. This was the Whispering Pines Cabin, a structure that held a history, steeped in darkness, and an origin story that sent shivers down the spines of those brave enough to recount it. Centuries ago, before the grove earned its ominous reputation, it was a tranquil haven for a small community of settlers. They were drawn to the lush, untouched wilderness where whispers of untold riches echoed through the trees. These settlers, led by the charismatic but enigmatic figure known as Silas Grimshaw, ventured deep into the heart of the forest, searching for a rumored hidden treasure that could change their lives forever. The grove, however, held secrets of its own. The trees, ancient and wise, seemed to whisper secrets in the night wind, secrets that ensnared the hearts and minds of the settlers. They grew obsessed, believing the trees held the key to their dreams. Silas Grimshaw, their charismatic leader, succumbed to the whispers first, becoming the unwitting vessel of the forest's malevolent spirit. As the settlers delved deeper into their obsession, they erected the Whispering Pines Cabin at the very heart of the grove, their sanctuary from the growing madness that consumed them. The cabin was constructed from the gnarled, cursed wood of the very pines that whispered deceitful promises into their ears. One fateful night, during a ritual led by Silas Grimshaw beneath the full moon, the forest spirit erupted in a cataclysmic display of rage. The very ground quaked, and the trees contorted in grotesque agony, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Unearthly screams echoed through the grove as the settlers, gripped by madness, performed unspeakable acts of violence against one another. In the end, only the Whispering Pines Cabin remained standing, its walls now soaked in the blood of the settlers. Silas Grimshaw, twisted beyond recognition, had become an abomination, fused with the malevolent spirit of the forest. His grotesque form now haunted the cabin, and his maddening whispers echoed through the dark corridors. The cabin, cursed and forsaken, became a place of unspeakable horrors. It lured wanderers, adventurers, and thrill-seekers who sought to uncover its sinister secrets or claim the mythical treasure hidden within the grove. None who entered ever returned, their screams and desperate pleas lost to the relentless whispers that surrounded them. Generations passed, and the Whispering Pines Cabin endured as a nightmarish monument to the madness that had consumed the settlers. The grove itself remained a forbidden realm, known only as a place of death and darkness. To this day, the Whispering Pines Cabin stands as a grim reminder of the insidious power of obsession and the malevolent forces that lurk within the depths of nature. It is a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead blur, and where the whispered promises of riches and power lead only to a fate worse than death. Travelers beware, for the cabin's dark origin story is but a prelude to the chilling horrors that await within its cursed walls. In the remote heart of the Appalachian Mountains, where civilization's touch grew faint and the wilderness reclaimed its dominance, there stood a sinister edifice known as the Blood Moon Cabin. It was a place shrouded in legend and whispered about in hushed tones around campfires, a place that dared those who sought terror to venture closer. The cabin's unsettling tale began in the early 19th century, a time when pioneers and prospectors forged their destinies in the untamed wilderness. Among these intrepid souls was Elias Blackthorn, a reclusive and enigmatic prospector who had stumbled upon a hidden valley deep within the mountains. Its lush meadows, crystalline streams, and ancient forested groves harbored an untold secret: the legendary Motherlode Mine. Elias, driven by greed and ambition, believed that the Motherlode Mine held a treasure beyond imagining, a fortune in gold, silver, and precious gems that could make him the richest man in the land. He built the Blood Moon Cabin as his solitary refuge and headquarters for his ambitious mining operation. As the miners descended into the depths of the Motherlode Mine, the valley seemed to change. The once vibrant meadows withered, the streams ran crimson with an eerie luminescent glow, and the trees twisted into grotesque shapes that whispered malevolent secrets to those who dared listen. It was as if the very earth rebelled against the intrusion. Elias's relentless pursuit of wealth led him to unearth a vein of mineral so astonishingly rich that it was said to be the blood of the earth itself. As the miners extracted the precious substance, it coursed with an otherworldly energy, corrupting all it touched. The miners grew increasingly frantic and insane, their eyes alight with a sinister glow as they descended into madness. One fateful night, as the moon turned a deep crimson hue in the sky, Elias Blackthorn conducted a profane ritual in the depths of the mine. He believed that offering the blood of the earth as tribute to the ancient spirits of the land would grant him immortality and unimaginable power. However, his ritual unleashed a malevolent force that transcended human comprehension, an entity that fed on the suffering of the miners and thirsted for more. As Elias Blackthorn completed his ritual, the very walls of the mine seemed to bleed, and the ground shook with fury. The earth itself rebelled against the desecration, sealing the mine in a cataclysmic collapse that swallowed Elias and his wretched acolytes, condemning them to an eternity of torment. The Blood Moon Cabin, now cursed by the malevolent entity, became a place of unspeakable terror. The crimson moonlight bathed it in a ghastly glow, and its walls oozed with the cursed mineral. Anyone who ventured near the cabin heard the anguished cries of the miners and witnessed grotesque apparitions that defied reason. Over the years, tales of the Blood Moon Cabin spread far and wide, becoming a warning to those who dared seek riches at the expense of the natural world. The cabin stood as a grim testament to the horrors of greed, corruption, and the unholy forces that lurked beneath the earth. To this day, the Blood Moon Cabin stands as a sinister monument to the insatiable thirst for power and the price one pays when delving into the darkest depths of the human soul. Travelers who stumble upon its forsaken location are advised to flee, for the cabin's ominous legend is a mere echo of the relentless horrors that await within its accursed walls. Deep within the unforgiving embrace of the Appalachian Mountains, obscured by the gnarled limbs of ancient trees and hidden in the shadows of Damned Hollow, there stood a cabin whose very existence invoked dread in the hearts of those who dared speak its name. The Damned Hollow Cabin. It was a place shrouded in unspeakable darkness, a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred, and a place that harbored a story so terrifying that even the bravest souls trembled at its retelling. The story of the Damned Hollow Cabin began centuries ago, when a secluded community of outcasts sought refuge from a world that had rejected them. These settlers, fleeing persecution and cursed by misfortune, established a hidden enclave deep within the treacherous mountains. Led by a charismatic and enigmatic figure known as Ezekiel Blackwood, They believed that by isolating themselves from the outside world, they could escape the torment that had haunted their lives. The cabin itself was a foreboding structure, built from the twisted, ashen wood of the nearby trees, its walls imbued with an otherworldly energy. From the moment it was erected, the hollow seemed to come alive, as if the very earth beneath it were sentient, aware of the malevolence that would soon take root. Ezekiel, a man who seemed both blessed and cursed, possessed an unnatural charisma that captivated his followers. Under his guidance, the settlers embraced a fervent, forbidden faith, one that promised salvation through rituals and offerings to the ancient forces that they believed dwelled beneath the mountains. Their chants, eerie and dissonant, echoed through the hollow, a haunting chorus that sent shivers down the spine of any who ventured too close. As the settlers delved deeper into their unholy practices, the hollow itself seemed to respond. The trees contorted into grotesque shapes, casting eerie shadows that danced like malevolent specters in the moonlight. The very air grew heavy with a palpable malevolence, as if the land itself was conspiring against those who had trespassed upon it. Ezekiel Blackwood, consumed by his dark ambitions, led the settlers in a ghastly ceremony beneath the blood-red moon. Their offerings, stained with the blood of innocent creatures and the unholy power of the land, were intended to grant them eternal life and unimaginable power. However, as the ceremony reached its climax, the hollow rebelled against the blasphemy, unleashing a cataclysmic force that tore through the enclave. In that horrific moment, the settlers were transformed into tormented spirits, forever bound to the accursed land they had defiled. Ezekiel, now a twisted and spectral figure, became the guardian of the damned hollow cabin, his restless soul haunting its shadowed corridors. Over the centuries, the damned hollow cabin became a beacon of dread in the mountains, a place shunned by the living and sought by the foolish. Its dark legend grew, with tales of travelers disappearing without a trace, their anguished cries echoing through the forest on moonlit nights. To this day, the damned hollow cabin stands as a grim testament to the consequences of forbidden faith and the horrors that lurk beneath the surface of our world. Those who stumble upon its forsaken grounds are urged to turn away, for the cabin's terrifying stories but a prelude to the eternal nightmares that await within its accursed walls.